welcome to the Wellness Brief podcast. I've wanted to get you on for so long, haven't I?
I know, I'm
We've
really
made
excited.
it out the WhatsApp chat because you are doing incredible things with particularly female founders. Mm-hmm. And I've seen you speak quite a few times now about the really complex relationship that there is between women, money, self-worth and success. And this podcast is all about sort of 360 well-being, wellness, whatever you want to call it, for predominantly professional women and business owners. And there's a big part of the jigsaw that a lot of people miss, and it's financial well-being and our approach to that, isn't it?
Yeah.
So tell us a bit about yourselves and the lovely work that you're doing.
Okay, so I'm Carmel Dickinson. I'm the founder and director of Worthy Consultancy. Hopefully the name says a lot about what I try to do.
Yes.
I essentially am a business consultant, and you've heard me say this a million times. If you want to think of me of anything and help you get your head around what I do, I'm a personal trainer for your business.
Yes.
We're very similar, and there's going to be so many similarities, I think, when we talk. And I use health and wellbeing as a really good analogy for money because, you know, it's about plan, it's about focus, it's about consistency and those kind of things, whether it comes to your money or running your business. So, but throughout my whole career, so 20 years, I sort of started work, a bit similar to you, had a big corporate background, predominantly in sales, marketing, worked for a lot of national newspapers, Times and Sunday Times, The Guardian, and then into my startup career, working for startups, helping build those. I constantly saw different ways of women around money, whether it was how good they were at sales, that there wasn't as many women that were high performing salespeople when I was running a sales team who would come to me and ask me for, you know, higher wages, pay rises. And then I was predominantly working in media, but around finance. So my clients were the finance businesses, so banks and asset managers. So I was very immersed in the world of finance. And there was a big, huge conversation which started about sort of over 12 years ago and still rolls on now about how there's so many gaps. There's a pension gap, there's a pay gap, there's an investment gap when it comes to women. So it's been a real passion of mine and something that I've really done a lot of work in, either doing public speaking, podcasts, but it is at the centre of my business. So now when I'm working with female founders, I often find that they don't maybe put themselves up for investment, they don't apply for grants, they're charging lower rates and they're just really struggling with all of that stuff, and yet they just don't see their worth. And so that's the name, and that's why I do what I do, is to help them really see that they have so much skills and experience and talent, and they are just as good as the man standing next to them, if not better in some cases.
Yeah,
so
a lot of the time.
So they should be charging for that. And on a wider scale, my big passion point is I don't just work with female founders. I work with what I hate using this bracketing, but diverse founders, so LGBTQ+, neurodiverse, global minority founders, because they all kind of fall in that bracket of being held behind and a narrative that's been told to them. And we are the people that should hold the power and the money. We've had a group of people, and I hate, you know, putting them under a bracket too, but, you know, the trillionaires and the billionaires kind of fit a bracket of straight white men, cis men, and they're not doing very good things with their money. And the world is sort of a little bit broken. And it's time for other people to take that place and to take that money and take that power. And I'm all about that. And that's a big mission behind what I do.
What do you think... or why do you think we see so many gaps between men and women when it comes to finances?
I mean, it's literally just legacy and tradition. I mean, just simple things like women weren't allowed to apply for mortgages, credit cards without a husband's signature.
That's so
wild. In my lifetime, I'm older than you, but in my lifetime. So
well, there's literally a few years between us.
Yeah, in the 70s, other products in the 80s. Even in the 80s, you would perhaps look at insurance paperwork and it would be all he. When even now I have experiences of women that maybe go to see a financial advisor or talk to a bank manager manager or talk to a mortgage advisor. And if those advisors are slightly old school, they predominantly talk to the man about their money. And that's because a legacy, you think back, it wasn't that long ago, it's our parents', area, or what's the word I'm looking for? Time. Perimenopause in real time, ladies and gentlemen. So in their time, the man was the breadwinner, the women stayed at home and looked after the kids, and the women didn't really earn the money. And that has changed so significantly, but that legacy and that narrative still lives with us. I also talk about things like some of the movies that we used to grow up with. I always put up the creepy comparison between a red-haired young orphan named Annie that was saved by a rich man and a sex worker named Vivian in Pretty Woman that was saved by a rich man. And we were also in the generation of wags. Like these women, Victoria Beckham had more money than David Beckham, but we were like, oh, look at her. Isn't she lucky to be married to David? We were always kind of using their money, or these rich men will save us and these rich men will take care of us. And that legacy and that conversation still continues now. Or we're splurgers, we spend, we're not savers. And when there's even adverts, I talk a lot about the adverts when I first started working at the Times and Sunday Times, or when I worked at a magazine called Money Marketing. Those adverts, they were sponsoring the men's sports, men's cricket.
That was who they were targeting,
They were targeting, the men. And so women they didn't know the brands. They weren't subjected to the brands to go, well, who's Investec or who's Schroders or why are Barclays, got this new product out that's investments. What is that? We were just not in the conversation. It just wasn't our thing. So that's why we've been held back. And there's other systemic things, like in terms of the pension gap. Pensions are designed to, you will start work at the age of 25 and then you will save in your pension until you're 65. Yeah. That's not how people work, men or women. That's detrimental to both men and women. We don't work like that anymore. We have several different jobs. We might start working later. We can't save as much. There's also a thing called auto-enrollment where your business will take the money. But if you think about women, a lot of women take time off to have children and they're not paying into a pension at that point. So there's a gap there. They're often paid less. So there's a gap there. They often take time off to then, or go part-time. They will be the predominant ones that, if there's an elderly relative, to take care of them. Yeah. So that's why women, I think, are, they're about 32% lower pensions. It is that much. That big. And it's actually widened again in the past couple of years. So men's pensions are around, on average, 19,000 a year, which is not enough to live on if you think about.
I mean, even that's not great, isn't it?
It's not great. And women are around 13,000.
Wow. So it's big.
It's big. Divorce also plays a massive factor in it. I've spoken to so many solicitors who say men are really smart. They know to hold on to their pension. They let their wives have the house because, take the house, have the kids, but they hold on to their pension pots that they've quite rightfully worked very hard to build, but maybe the wife's been at home looking after the kids so they can charge ahead of their careers. Now, I'm talking in very heteronormative terms, but those kind of stories and narratives have also flitted into other relationships and just affect every kind of way of thinking. In terms of investing, as I was saying, that was never in our conversation. If you watch anything like Wolf of Wall Street, or any of some of the old 80s movies, the city is the men, it's, they're the ones wheeling, dealing. Investments is just not a conversation that women were ever brought into. No. So we're just so behind and we're just kept out of that loop, or we have been. I'm really pleased to say that it is changing. It really very is. Slowly.
I know I'm seeing, and I don't know whether this is because it's something I'm interested in, but I'm seeing a lot more of this, and I know people who are directly targeting women to get them into investing. Yeah. And around financial literacy as well and things like that. But I think as well, I certainly in law was surrounded by a lot of women who were the breadwinner, but would never ever say that because there's that thing as well as not wanting to almost embarrass your partner or something. And there are women who are earning a lot of money now, but maybe aren't don't know or that they've just got it sitting in a bank account. They're not using it in the way that is the most financially viable for them.
Yeah.
But it is good to see that it's changing, but the attitude and the actual conversation around it has to move with it, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I mean, sometimes I also really caveat this. We are not a nation of investors, full stop.
Yeah.
We've been told that it's risky. Even Martin Lewis on Money Supermarket, he doesn't really talk about investments.
No, I think he steers clear, doesn't he?
He steers clear. It's seen as risky. It's seen as complicated, and it really isn't. And that has changed over the past sort of 10 years. There's been more what are called as like digital wealth platforms coming onto the market, which allow you to just invest for £1 a week or £5 a month. Junior ISAs. We've got different kind of ISAs have come out, and so we as a nation, we're learning that investment isn't as scary as it has been made out to be. That it's not a boys' club or a wealthy club,
and it doesn't have to be a huge amount of money. I put £5 a day into. I have a trading 212 app.
Great,
£5 a day, and it's the thinking behind it. And someone else got me into this, a woman, which I was made up about, Emma Story Gordon, and it's like, if you can spend £5 on a coffee in a coffee shop, you can match that and put that in. And I don't even see it go out of my account.
No.
It's not like I'm putting like loads of money in, but it's not far off £1,000 now.
Yeah.
And I've just been putting a little £5 in each day.
Yeah.
And there's things like Money Box and things like that again, really simplified, aren't they?
Yeah, and you can pick like a really low risk option. So it's not going to be, throwing your money into risky investments. There's a fund manager, there's someone who looks after your money. It's their job to look after the money. It looks bad on them if they lose all your money, and it just accumulates over time. When I used to do talks to younger people to help them understand about pensions, because pensions is investments, by the way.
Pensions is one thing that I am not great on.
It's do you know, I've said this for years. I've said this in big, huge pension provider offices. Pensions need a rebrand because no one knows what they are. Essentially what they are is they are your income when you retire. So when you stop working...
I'm going to be living on beans.
I know. Do you know what? They did an amazing campaign in Australia where they sort of showed people living on dog food and living in really horrible homes and was sort of saying... This is what your life will be like if you don't save into your pension.
I'd rather go for beans than dog food,
I know.
to be fair.
Why dog food does it?
It's probably more expensive.
Fair enough. But they were trying to explain to people. And Aviva did a good campaign a few years ago where they showed two people growing old and their different lives because one of them had saved into a pension and one of them hadn't. But a pension is essentially your income when you're not earning income anymore. And what I used to tell people is, say you start saving at around, I mean, it's slightly different now, but back in the day I used to say, if you start saving £13 a day, so I used to live in London, so the price of a Pret lunch, if you put that into if you put that into a pension with investments, you're generally going to get 5% growth because of compound interest, the wonderful magic that is compounding. If you put that away every single day between the ages of 25 to 60 or 21 and 65, you will be a millionaire by the time you retire. But you also have to think about how long are you going to live for. So I always say to people, if you think about it, so the average age of people that die in my family...
It's quite young in man.
Right. So you might be all right.
But my mum is going to be... way into her 90s, I think. Right. She's just like fit as a fiddle. So we are living longer.
Yeah. So if you think about the fact that you could live till 80, so say average age in my family is around 80. If I want to retire at 60, how am I going to pay for my life for 20 years? For 20 years and have a nice life, go travelling, and
that should be the time when you are like being able to do all the things that maybe you can't do as freely while you're working.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what a pension is, that a pension will cover all of that. And you hopefully don't have a mortgage by that point, so you don't have to pay for your house. Again, that's a whole nother issue now as people are buying their houses much later. So you shouldn't have a mortgage, you should have a roof over your head, but you still need to pay your bills. You still want to be able to go out and have coffee and cake with your friends, or you want to be able to go on travel. I'm being sweeping statements about elderly people now. Look, cake. You want to be able to go surfing or raving. I met this amazing couple at the weekend. They were like in their 60s and they were raving. I was at a festival and they were like in their 60s. So if you want to go raving or whatever, that costs money. And so you need to pay for that. And that's all that a pension is. You're accumulating wealth to pay for your income, to provide you an income in your later years. That's essentially what a pension is. And that's why businesses have started to auto-enroll you. And the beauty of pensions, which people don't realise, is that you get free money. So for every £80 you put in, the government top it up with 20. If you work in a corporation, sometimes they will top it up for you, 1%, 2%. Some businesses, they're doing 8%
they'll
on
match
top.
sometimes,
they'll
won't
match.
they? Yeah.
So your percentage, they'll match it. So if you put 2% of your salary in there, they'll put 2% in as well, so they match it. So that's free money. That's a pay rise.
And
so
it's probably
you've got
easier
to take it.
If you're an employee. It's probably easier as well because I remember my employer actually saying, "No, you have to actively opt out of this if you want to." Whereas when you work for yourself, you've got your own business. You have to be the one to go and do it, don't you? So,
but it reduces your tax. So if you pay it out of your business account, directly from your business account into your pension account, your pension provider is tax deductible. So again, it's kind of really worth you doing it as you can. And like you say,
I've got my little cogs are going here.
Yeah, but I think I understand why people go, but I haven't got £5 a day or £13 a day, because you add that up and that's in the hundreds. I haven't got that money to spare. And I get that, when you're sort of trying to live your life, you might go, well, it's a choice of a holiday or put into my pension. And I think it's very easy for us to sit here in a privileged position. And when people are really struggling to even, people aren't even going on holidays anymore at the moment, or they're struggling to pay their energy bills. I get that's really, really tough. But what I will say is with investments and pensions, because there's that sort of free bracket of money, whatever you put in is better than nothing if you can find it. It's, you're always saying to me, whatever you can do, just do it.
Yeah, that's how I mean, it's the same, isn't it? It's how you would approach sort of any aspect of your health or something.
Yeah.
Exactly. And it does play a big part, because even if you were doing all the things, eating well, exercising, managing your sleep, if you have financial difficulties or worries, or it is going to obviously play a huge part in how you feel day to day. Stress, a lot of stress is caused by financial issues, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's the number one cause of stress for people.
So you can be doing everything right in terms of looking after your health, but that could be the one thing that sort of really is impacting how you feel day to day.
Yeah, it's like, we were just saying before we started recording, our car broke down, and we, as all mechanics do, apologies to mechanics listening, they kind of go, it could be £100 or it could be £1,000.
It's not very helpful.
It's not very helpful, bless them.
Not helpful, that, Dave.
So you're kind of going, okay. And, we're not the richest in the world. And suddenly we've got to find, when those things happen to you, and when you're slightly financially secure or get yourself into a good place, you've got some savings, you've got some investments. So those investments, you can pull them out. So if you have an emergency, you can pull them out. They're not locked down. Pensions is different. You can't.
They are,
But you can with, investments. So you can, if you've got access to that money. So if we had no money and then that happened to us, we would have to maybe not get the car, but my partner uses his car for his work.
Yeah, so he
would lose income because he wouldn't be able to work. So it's a snowball effect, and that's how people get themselves into messes, right? Because the car breaks down.
It's the unexpected costs. And also, even though I think a lot of us are earning more money, the cost of living has risen astronomically.
Yeah.
So it's what you were saying then. It's what you've got disposable income to put into that sort of thing, isn't it?
I think
most of it, like some families are struggling to actually be able to feed the kids and stuff at the moment. The last thing they're going to be thinking about is put money into an investment, isn't it?
A savings account or something like that. It's really hard, and I appreciate that we sit here from a privileged position, but I think, like you were saying, that sort of putting that £5 away or that £1 away or something that you can put in.
A pound a day, something like that. And I actually find that rather than doing it as a one lump sum a month, I don't really see it.
Yeah.
Do you know, it's like a sort of, I would spend that on a coffee. Yeah. And I am like we were saying then, I am in a privileged position to be able to spend £5 on a coffee, but I try and balance that out now.
Yeah.
And I think as well, I think you do get to a certain age where you think, oh, hang on, we're on the fast train here.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think that's always a golden rule, is try and pay your future self first.
Yeah.
And so
a little bit for future me, a little bit for me now.
There's a ratio rule. Some people like it, some people don't, but I kind of use it because I think it's really helpful. So and I understand that business owners, when your income fluctuates, that some people, you don't know how much money you're making, do you? If you're sort of like a hairdresser or a personal trainer, you can kind of have some regular income, but it kind of can fluctuate. Same as my partner with his electrical work. But if you kind of think what the money that you're getting in every month, you can kind of split it. So 50% of it should be for your mortgage, your rent, your bills, your necessities, your food, petrol, all of the things that you really need to live and get by. So that's 50% of your salary. And then there's the 20-30. So if you're in a good position, you could have 30% of that money, which is just yours to play with, to enjoy, buy clothes, go out, put towards a holiday, etc., etc. And then the 20% is your future money. So if you have debt, pay off the debt first. Or if you don't, put it into investments and pensions. And as soon as your money, you get paid, as soon as that money comes in, that 20% goes out. So you're kind of paying your future person, and then you'll have the 30%. If you're not in a good position, you've got a lot of debt, or your pension pot is looking a bit low, or you're starting later in life, your 40s or your 50s, flip that 30 and 20 around. Now, some people say to me, and this used to be tough when I lived in London, rents and house pricing and all of that is so much higher. And they used to say, well, I'm well over the 50. I'm spending about 60, 70%.
It must be horrendous.
Horrendous. But I used to say, you're living beyond your means, and therefore something has to change. And that would sound really harsh, but some people are living in rental accommodation that's gorgeous and central, they could probably get they can't really afford it. What are you doing with your bills? It's things like, we're really guilty of this in my house. I think we must spend about £150 a month on television because I can't be bothered to cancel. So we've got like Prime, and then I still sit there every night going, what shall I watch? And I think I watch Love Island every night at the moment, and that's on ITV. So it's things like that. Look for your subscriptions, look for all of those things, like those essential bills, things with your food shopping. What could you drop? What could, and I hate saying this to people because I do also really subscribe to, you've got to live your life. You've got to have things. You've got to, when I always do my sort of budgeting, I like getting my hair done with a good hairdresser. I spent a lot of years with the box. Terrible, and cutting my own hair or going to supercuts. Nothing wrong with supercuts, and then I just made a pact with myself about my hair to try and improve it, and that's a non-negotiable for me. And I think you're allowed those non-negotiables if you can afford them. But is there ways that you can save and get yourself to that 50%? Yeah.
We waste a lot of money, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
I know there's lots of stuff I pay out for that really, if I did a full audit, I would probably get rid of.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a bit of a compulsive spender. I can sometimes be like, oh, well, I really need this and I really need that, and I need the next skin cream, and I need this new t-shirt.
Need and want, isn't it?
Need and want, yeah.
It's the difference between need and want sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And striking a balance.
Yeah.
Do you know what? One of the things that I wanted to ask you about as well, because this is something I know you do a lot, where there's the link between finances and worth, particularly in sort of female women.
Yeah.
What do you see that there's a link between the two?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think what I see is there's two kind of strands to it. And I think you probably see this as well. I know you see it in me. And it's so funny for me to sit here and say one thing. You sometimes remind me.
We've actually even said this. You are actually one of my clients.
I'm one of Sarah's clients. Probably one of the worst.
Not one of the worst. You're amazing.
Thank you. But
I don't have any bad clients.
But there's this kind of link between if you don't feel like you are worth that pay rise or worth charging that amount of money, even though you have all the skills and experience and talent, and sometimes your client has a real problem that they really need fixing. So say you're a web designer and their website is getting no traffic and it looks terrible and everything's broken on it and videos aren't playing on it and the blogs are old. And they go, look at this website, it's not working for me. And women will still kind of sometimes look at it as they're looking after their clients, they're taking care of their clients. And even though they could be the best web designer in town, they'll still kind of go, oh, well, what's your budget? And no, and they put their price across like £2,000, £3,000, and the person goes, oh, that's very expensive. And straight away the women will go, oh, well, I could give you a bit of a discount. And already before the conversation even happens, they're lowering their prices. Or I see a lot of women and I see their businesses and I go, I had this conversation yesterday. You are sitting on a gold mine. You need to tell people what you're doing. You need to put yourself out there, make yourself visible, sell.
Be seen as...
Sell.
Yeah.
I want you to email every single person in this industry and tell them what you're doing. Yeah. Because not only do they need this, they have to have this. Yeah. You have solved a big problem.
You're doing them a disservice by not offering a solution to a problem that they know that they have.
And most women will be like, well, I don't want to annoy them.
Yeah.
I don't want to send them too many emails.
Yeah.
I say send 8 emails and then go away. 8 emails or 5 emails and 2
That's
LinkedIn
you coming
DMs.
from a sales background, isn't it?
But
which most business owners don't.
They hate it. They hate it.
And probably never had to directly set, especially if you come from being employed to being your own business. You don't really have to sell. Oh, you sell under the umbrella of a brand like somebody else. So it doesn't feel icky.
Yeah.
But I remember even being in private practice as a lawyer, I had my hourly rate. And then I moved to a legal firm where I was a self-employed consultant lawyer, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I immediately dropped my hourly rate. And I remember starting, and the solicitor I was sat next to was a property lawyer. And I said, oh, I've dropped my hourly rate, to make sure that I get some work in. And he went, oh, have you done that for me? And I was like, and he went, of course you're going to get work in. All this, like, you're devaluing your own services. And it's like, I didn't even sort of realise I'd done it, but I moved, and immediately when it went from me representing a firm to being me, I was like, oh, I better reduce my rate. And it was like, it's when I think back now, like, it's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. But it's so common. Yeah. We either don't feel that worth, that there's also, I think, a legacy of, when you're running your own business, you should feel lucky that there's a lot of women out there that haven't had that opportunity.
It drives you mad when someone says, oh, you're so lucky. And like, no. It's not, there might be elements of luck involved along the way, but it is action and hard work, isn't it?
Yeah. And so you kind of lower your rates on that basis of, well, at least I can do this for myself. There's that caring, nurturing, where you just want to help the client, you just want to get in and help them with their problems. So, and you don't want to let them down. You don't want them to, not, if they say, I can't afford you, like, oh, that's, then you care about their finances more than your own. There's all this kind of stuff that goes on with women as that emotional. We're way more emotional with our finances and the way that we look at things. Even in that's shown up in investing. We actually make better investors because we're emotional about it. We don't take risks. We don't muck about with it. We don't play it like it's a game, as a lot of men do, the gamification of investing, which is absolutely fine to do if you can afford it. But, women tend not to do that. Women are more ethical investors. They invest in things that are better for the planet and better for the society and community. We're more likely to put money into charities, support local communities with our money. We're more likely to spend money on our kids and our family, higher amounts. And that plays out so many times. And it does play out but then at the detriment of ourselves sometimes, a lot of the time. And it's a sort of a swings and roundabouts, because it's great that women are thinking like this with their money, but we also need to take care of ourselves first and support ourselves first. And equally, if you've worked really hard to train to be a good nutritionist, personal trainer, web developer, learn design, created amazing clothing, whatever you're doing, and you're putting all of that blood, sweat and tears into your business, you deserve to get paid correctly for it and the right amount, and often women should be charging way more than men because the amount of care and love and thought that's gone into their product or their service or their client work, it can be a little bit higher. I don't know who's winning there, men or women, because men just can kind of step away from it a bit more, but you know, you just deserve to get paid for what you're really worth, and you shouldn't ever have to apologise for that or think badly about that. And that does come down to what you believe in about yourself.
That's where the worth thing comes in.
Yeah, that's where the worth thing comes in.
It's amazing though that you're like, that is such a big thing for you and what you do in your business, isn't it? I didn't, until I've first heard you speak, I didn't know that was where the name had come from and stuff, which I think is brilliant. I actually used to think your name was Carmel Worthy, you know.
Did you? What a nice name. Yeah.
Because that's your Instagram handle, isn't it? It's Carmel Worthy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, it's Dickinson.
Yeah, Dickinson.
One of the things I wanted to talk to you about as well was, like, we've talked about how important it is for women to be financially literate, but what would be the first steps? How would they go about that?
Okay, so there's a few steps. Get really close to your money. A lot of people are just like, I don't want to look at my bank account.
Head in the sand.
Yeah, and businesses are sometimes. So the two big questions I always ask, if you come and work with me, and you want mentoring or you want me to write you a strategy or a plan, the first couple of questions I will ask you about how much does it cost to run your business and how much money do you want to make? And so I get a lot of like, I used to earn 30 grand, so that would be nice. Yeah. I get that. I get, I don't really know. And then I say to them, if you were offered a job and they wouldn't tell you the salary, and they were like, well, could be 20 grand, could be 50 grand. How much do you want? Like, you would be like, you would run a mile. You wouldn't take the job.
You wouldn't do it, would you?
Yeah, people are running their businesses not knowing, and they're not knowing how much it costs them to run the business.
They probably just don't want to know sometimes.
Yeah, and they do that with their personal banking and they do it with their business banking. They just don't want to look. They're like, ooh, don't want to look.
Quick peek.
Peek. Don't do that. Like, get really on top of your finances, and that takes away a lot of the stress and worry because you know where you're at. You know, even if it's not what you want to see and it's like, you're not in a great position, at least you know what you're working with. And then you can start to take action to, like you say, if you've got debt, start paying the debt off. Yeah. And maybe that's a sign for you to curb your spending. Yeah. But it's even,
or if there are changes that need to be made within the business and how you're charging clients, like you were saying, 100%. That's where you come in.
Because some people come to me and they're like, I feel like I'm working all the time and I'm not earning enough money. And
I so much potential.
Yeah, and I say, but do you know how much money you need? And they don't even know how much all of their bills and everything add up to. So they don't really know how much they need to be paying themselves. They don't know how much the rent is for their office anymore. They don't know how much their Zoom costs or their Canva license costs, and so they're earning about 100 quid because the amount of money that they have to pay out for once they've paid their own personal stuff, there's nothing left. And I'm like, well, that's why. And they're like, but I'm working really hard. And I'm sort of saying, well, then your rates aren't high enough. If you're putting that much into your work, you should be charging for it. Think of an hourly rate, think of a day rate. So it's just get really close to your money. So it's using the
don't be scared to
because the car analogy again, we kind of knew that it was going to be all right. It's like, okay.
And this is the thing, it is always all right, isn't it? Well, most of the time.
Yeah.
You find a way through it, don't you?
Yeah. Or if you don't have that money to fix the car, that's stressful. But then you move on and go, so what do we do? Yeah. Do we get a loan? Do we ask for our friends or family? Yeah. Do we just leave the car? Do we buy a new one? What do we do? But that becomes less stressful if you know your situation. And then moving on from that, I always say, just educate yourself. It's a bit like, like working with someone like you. There's actually loads and loads of people out there. There's financial coaches, there's financial advisors. They're quite pricey, but there's groups like Vestpod. There's Finamize if you're really into investing. There's like Laura Moore. She's a really great financial coach who does loads of stuff online. There's Claire Seal. She's got a couple of books. There's really great books out there that kind of almost act as diaries. So I gave a book out. I think you got it when you came to my event.
Yeah, you did actually.
Yeah, You're Not Broke, You're Pre-Rich. And that's like a workbook, and it goes everything from paying off debt to savings. Just learn it. Just
Yeah,
learn
that's the
it.
thing. There are some good books out there, aren't there, as well?
Yeah. And what you have to understand is financial services have deliberately made this stuff very complicated, as a lot of things do.
Of course they have, so you have to use them.
Yeah, so you have so you don't see the hidden charges. So you have to use financial advisors. So it's like everything. It's a bit like wellness. They've overcomplicated wellness, right?
Yeah.
And so now you feel like you have to have these supplements, and you need to use this, and you need to have this expensive gym membership, and you need to be doing this, that, and that, and I've through working with you,
I spend most of my time just saying, no, strip it back.
Yeah,
just strip
and
it back.
it's accountability, isn't it?
Yeah.
So but
having someone simplify it for you as well.
Yeah.
It's like having a conversation. I had a conversation with my mum the other day about her diet. Mum's fit as a fiddle, really, really fit, but her diet, she has bran flakes for her breakfast, which she's always had, and a banana, which isn't too bad. There's zero protein. She has a bit of, because she doesn't eat very much either. She's like a sparrow. And I was like, what protein do you have in your diet, Mum? And she was like, well, I eat salads and stuff. I was like, not protein.
Yeah.
But like even like the education around those like little things, that's like my mum, and literally it's what I do as a job.
Yeah.
I think unless you go out of your way, because she's probably thinking, oh, it's no point me knowing that now.
Yeah.
And I think it is with finance, there is always a point in knowing it, because we're here for a long time.
Yeah. But I think it's also about, it's quite interesting that you say that about your mum. You also have to recognise, and that's why financial coaches are really great, or is recognise the way you are with money. So you could learn everything in the world, right? Yeah. And you know this because
I know what you're going to say.
You educate me. Yeah. This is what you need to do, Carmel, to lose weight, and then I just don't do it.
Yeah.
Now, and it's the same with money. Now, look at what your parents did with money. Were they feast or famine? Were they splurgers?
Yeah.
Like I've got a mix of both. My dad was a massive saver for a rainy day that never came. Well, COVID.
So that's the other thing.
COVID came.
Yeah.
I'm like the pandemic. But he saved for everything all the time. He was so risk adverse. It used to drive me bonkers sometimes, sadly my dad passed away, and the money that he had sitting in cash which he could have made a lot more money out of, but he didn't want to take the risk. And my mum was a spender. She loved clothes and, different things. And she was very, very generous. Well, she still is. I'm not talking about her in the past. She's a very generous woman. She shows a lot of love with her money. And so I have a mixture of the two. But I was more of a splurger and a spender. And also I was very insecure about the way that I looked. So I was constantly spending money on clothes to look good, to fit in, to fill a void of, I would never turn up. Everyone says to me, oh, you're quite well put together when we see you. And I've got less on that. But, I just thought as long as I looked the part, then people would accept me. That was an insecurity thing.
And that's probably, again, more of a woman thing than a male thing again. So we probably do tend to spend more on those things that even like being a woman does cost quite a lot of money.
It costs a lot of money.
Because like Jed gets his hair cut. We just
like 20 quid. I know.
And I'm like, there's a lot. I mean, I stopped dyeing my hair in lockdown, but I'm going to have to see I'm white knuckling at the moment. So we're going to have to see what the 40s brings. Yeah. Now, if I don't like how, then there may be that I have to start doing that again. Yeah. But it's all the little things, isn't it? Lashes, nails, eyebrows.
It all adds up. And there's this thing about pink tax, where if you look at a lot of like women's deodorant costs more than men's deodorant. I
saw a post
pink
about that.
razors, cost more money. Yeah. We get taxed for all of that stuff, but going back to those behaviours, I have ADHD, so online shopping is a brilliant dopamine hit. Yeah. It's such a dopamine hit.
And it gives you that instant sort of
and then
hit.
I'm on social media, which is another dopamine hit, and then it's TikTok shop, and it and those buttons, and you're like, and the thing comes, you don't even care.
TikTok. Yeah.
Don't have it. Don't get it. But so that's like a dopamine, so you can get addicted to shopping and all of that. So look at your behaviour. What type of person what's your relationship with money?
You can have all the knowledge in the world on any subject, but your behaviour and how you the things you do day to day are going to have the impact, aren't they?
And on the flip, I see people in businesses and they're hoarding money, and I'm like, spend some money, like invest in some marketing, invest on a virtual assistant, invest here, put some money.
There's a balance to be struck, isn't there?
Some people they're just so scared to spend money as well, or they're or that I'm so scared to give the money to investments because I'm scared I'll lose it all, and all of that stuff. Once you recognise your behaviour, and behaviour is everything.
Yeah.
I'm working with the behaviour psychology, and what he's teaching me, shout out to Paul Davis, what he's teaching me about behaviour, and you can be educated and you can be pointed in the right way, but if your behaviour won't take you there, you won't do it.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing about, I always say that because I think that piece gets missed, because you could read a book about finance.
It's not about the knowledge, is it?
Yeah, you could listen to this and go, I definitely need a pension. But
what do? You have to then go away and you have to
do the work and find that, and all
yeah.
of that. So I would always look at that behaviour first. And if you're always going, I'm going to start a pension next week, but you don't take care of yourself in so many ways, you're not going to do that. But also, if you're a really busy person, you might not do it.
No.
All of this stuff. Or you'd be like, I'll do the pension after the holiday, and then I'll do the pension after I get a new car. You're living too much in the now, then you need to think about future stuff like that.
There's such a big crossover with what I do, because people come to me with a health or a fitness or a fat loss goal, and they think they're going to learn about nutrition, and they do. That is a big part of it. The biggest part of the work I do is not programming workouts. It is mindset. It's all about behavioural change. But if I was to market my service in that way, people would be like, no, that's not what I need. I need the results, because that's what people want, isn't it?
Yeah.
But the behavioural aspect is massive, and that's in all aspects of our life, really, isn't it? But in particular, you can have all the knowledge in the world. Like, well, I was listening to something the other day, and someone was saying, you could know everything there is to know about football. You could want to be a footballer, but if you're not actually playing football, you're never going to get good at playing football. There is no point, is there? You've got to be doing the thing. So,
and I think one of the interesting things that I heard around that was, a lot of people spend a lot of money on their children in the here and now, and they sort of, buy them cars, or they buy them lots of toys and clothes, and they take them on these amazing holidays, and that's amazing. Memories of your children are really core in your children. But actually, I had to have this conversation with my parents. They were like, well, we want to leave you a big inheritance. And I said, you know what you're going to leave me? You're going to leave me having to quit my job and look after you, because you've put so much money over here, there's no money for your care. And so we need to really think about, I will have to quit my job and take care of you, because there's no money for care. And actually, all of this money that's being spent on your children now, they might have to lose a particular part of their life to stay at home and take care of you, because there's no money to get a carer in and to support you, or private health care, or all of those kind of things. It's the same as your health, right? You're sort of having a good time now, but you're going to really regret it later. So it's all of those things that you think by living in the here and now, you're doing amazing things, creating memories and stuff, but you're going to create a bit of a deficit later on in life. And actually, you should try and think about that. And one of the ways that people really do start really thinking about their finances, I know it's a huge shift for me and my partner, is what are we going to be able to give our son? You've got it's a whole different focus for you as a parent. Then, are we going to be able to leave him money? Are we going to be able to afford to send him to university? Where is he going to grow up? All of that kind of stuff, it's really, really important. And so you sometimes think you're showing love to your kids because you're spending money on them now, but actually you could be really creating something quite detrimental for their future if you don't think about that future.
It's a minefield, isn't it?
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah,
and I think people are always just doing the best they can with the knowledge that they have as well.
Yeah.
But the knowledge, you have to get the knowledge, don't you?
Yeah, make the emotional attachment.
And then you have to act on the knowledge.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a step process, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like one of the core things that you should have is you should have about 3 months to 6 months money just sat in cash,
like
in
a rainy day fund.
A rainy day fund. And that is more because, like for instance, I just mentioned that my dad passed away. I run my own business, so does my partner. So if we don't work, we don't get paid. There's no one paying, there's no grief leave or anything like that. But we were able to take a month and a half off, told my clients, I'm taking this time off. I need to be here with my mum. I need to organise a funeral. And we didn't have to worry about the finances because we were okay.
You had enough
enough to cover us. And if I wanted to take more time off for that, then I could have done.
Yeah.
It's things like that. So if you need to make that emotional attachment to that, to how you save your money, I'm doing this for my family, I'm doing this for my children's future. If that's what gets you to start putting that money away, then tie on that. Like I said to you when I first started working,
having a why, isn't it?
Yeah, when I started working with you, my health is so much more important to me now. Seeing losing a parent, and I want to live as long as I possibly can. I want to see as much of my son's life as I'm getting emotional. I want to see as much as my son's life. I want to see him when he's in his 40s. Yeah. And in order to do that, I need to start taking care of myself.
And the thing is as well, it's not all just about having a long life. It's you don't want a long life where you're in a care home for most of that, or where you're unable to actually do things. So I always say, so someone actually said to me, so I have a stepson, he's amazing. I have a step granddaughter, little Sonny. And we put money away for Sonny actually. Like probably, we're like, oh, make sure Sonny's okay. But someone said to me, oh, well, I don't have biological children. So who's going to look after you when you're old? And I'm like, why do you think I'm doing what I'm doing now? Me? Yeah. And that's how I sort of view it. Like I want to be able to be independent and look after myself. It's probably going to be a reality for me. Yeah. But also, everyone should think like that regardless of their circumstances. It's like you were saying then, you can't bulletproof yourself, can you? No. But you can do what you can to sort of give yourself the best chance of living a long and happy, healthy life. Yeah. There's no point living a long life if you're not happy and miserable.
Or if you haven't got money to support you.
If you've got no money, or like you were saying, money is really, really important part of health. It is. People say money doesn't bring you happiness, but it can alleviate a lot of pressure and stress, which does it does equal happiness for a lot of people.
Yeah. If you have to take time off, or it's just that I had a problem with my foot.
Or contentment, maybe. I don't know how you describe it, but money does link in with how happy you are.
Me being able to pay for you to help me, because I really struggle with weight and all of that, and having you there has made it so much easier and better for me, and I can afford to pay you. Things like, if you want to go private, you could pay for that.
Exactly.
The NHS is very stretched, and things like therapy, if you can't afford to get a therapist, you're on a big waiting list for a really long time, and your mental health is going down.
This is where the economic gap comes in, though, doesn't it? With we see people's health is much poorer in economically deprived areas, because even for them to go to a doctor's appointment, they might have to take unpaid time off work, pay for a bus to get to the doctor's surgery. And even though the NHS is free, that doctor's appointment to someone who doesn't get paid sick leave costs them a lot of money,
it does.
And if you already are financially strapped for cash, that might be the difference between you going to the doctor or not. So it's like it feeds into every aspect,
it feeds into everything. And so every time I sort of talk to my clients about how much money they're making in the business, and I always say to them, like, reach for the stars. If not just for yourself, do it for your family, do it for the community, do it for the fact that you could, if you earn a lot more money in this business, if you really push yourself, or if you really think outside the box on this, if you really start putting up your prices and charging for what you're worth, you don't have to keep that money. If it feels icky to you to have to be that wealthy, you could give that money then to a charity.
You want to do it to give it to
you could give it to your family, all of that kind of stuff. Well, going right back to the top, wealth is power. Elon Musk is a trillionaire, and I won't get too much on my high horse, but Elon Musk wrote a tweet that said, how much would it cost to solve world hunger? And someone told him it was about 60 billion, and he could spend 60 billion.
He could easily do that.
He could do that and still be a billionaire, and he's chosen not to. And so we need money in the hands of people that would probably go, I'll solve world hunger for 60 billion.
Even if everyone just gave what they could, but it's people I'm not talking about me and you now. The people like us are probably the ones that do that more, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we live in the most generous city in the country.
I've just signed up with the Girls Network charity, which works with young girls from disadvantaged backgrounds as a mentoring scheme.
Oh, lovely.
And I thought, I'm not in a position to give loads of money to charity, but what I can give is time. So I'm doing my bit in the way that I can,
And you've done that because you've set up your business, so you're charging enough money that you now have time. So sometimes time
is valuable.
So it's similar to me. Like I'm working, my son's going to be off for the summer holidays, I can afford to not work Fridays because of the way I've set my business up and the amount of money that I'm earning. So I'll probably spend those Fridays with my son, but I could spend those Fridays volunteering. It's exactly what you've done. You've set your business up that you're earning enough money to live a nice life, but also invest your time back into the community.
Because that's important to me as well. And like I say, that doesn't have to be, does it, making big grand donations and stuff? It can be literally giving your time. And I get a lot from, well, I will. I've not been DBS checked yet. I'm DBS check pending. So if I never talk about it ever again, if you never hear me mention it ever again.
I did that out in case it doesn't.
We'll scrap that bit. We might need to edit that bit out.
But that's what I always say. To me, like, if I always ask the question, what is money or what is wealth to you? Wealth to me is freedom. Is wealth is power, wealth is freedom. It's so much more than money. We've kind of touched on, a lot of the things, the ways that the things that you should be doing with your money for your pension and all of that. But it's how you can live your life and what you can do with your life. Money's a tool.
Opportunities.
Yeah.
No, financial freedom is what we should all be working towards, really.
Yeah.
But I think if you don't know where to start, it can feel really hard. I think the value of working with someone like you as well is that you're not just looking at anything in isolation. No. You're sort of, like you said, you're a PT for the business. You're going in there and you're saying, right, let's have a look at everything that's going on. Let's drill down into these finances. You're educating them as well, aren't you?
Yeah.
But then supporting them to actually make the changes that they need to and take the action.
Yeah, some people, they just want to do one single thing in their business and earn as much money out of that as they possibly can, and we help them do that. Some of them want to have 3 or 4 lines. They want to, they want to do this over here. I've got some people that, one's a virtual assistant, but she's also an illustrator. I've got people that they just want to work 2 days a week. Some people that are happy to work 6 days a week. People that have children, all of this, and we always just work together on what's the goal, what's the outcome, what kind of life do you want to live, what's the work-life balance that you're striving for, and what's the type of business that you want to run. Do you want to, the way you actually get really rich is passive income, is by making money in your sleep, essentially. So I always try to work with businesses about where that could possibly come from then, and we work through with that and what could that look like. And that might be something completely different to the business that they're doing, or it could be really aligned to the business that they're doing and things like that. And sadly, there's so much out there now. You go on Instagram and it's like a digital course for this and a digital course for that, and I'll teach you how to make money being a content creator. I'll teach you how to set up a course and sell it for thousands of pounds. I'll teach you crypto trading. I'll teach you how to sell things on Etsy and make loads of money. You can make, and they throw this 6 figures. 6 figures is 100 grand. It's also 900 grand. Like, what is 6 figures? And there's all this and you have to be really careful with all of that stuff. So I try and helpfully help move all of that out the way and go, right,
give them some clarity.
What's your love? What's your passion? What do you really care about?
I think if your business is impact driven as well, the money will come.
Absolutely.
I think it's if you chase money. So for me, like, even this podcast is about impact.
Yeah.
Like, my whole business is impact driven. It's all about like having a positive impact. It's the reason I want to do the mentoring, if they let me in.
Yeah.
But like, I think if you are just about, I want to make money, people see through that, and people don't want to buy into someone who's just after your cash.
Yeah.
Feeling like someone's just after your money is like, no,
red flag.
not for me. I want to have an impact. You want to have an impact. You're passionate about it. So I think don't be afraid if you've got a passion to actually express that as well. People need to know what you're about, don't they? Especially in the age of AI and social media, where it's getting quite robotic. Show a bit of passion, have an impact where you can.
And people make a lot of money out of their passions. They really do. And having that impact, there's a lot of people out there that kind of have $1 million businesses, if that's what you want, in the thing that you really, really care about. And it can seem silly to others, but it can really make a change for other people. It's even like Emma Greed. She talks about the jean range that she has and saying, I don't like seeing women who are a size 22 or a 26 not be able to buy the same pair of jeans as a size 8. Now, that might seem trite to a lot of people, but for people that are always like, those larger women that feel left out of fashion and forced into horrible frumpy clothes that they don't really like and they want to look like they were friends, that's massive. That's a big thing. That helps them with their body journey and feeling better about their body. So
again, it's impact
and Emma
driven.
Greed is a multi-millionaire with a jean company as well as millions of others. So don't always think that your impact has to be huge either. Those small things, those small problems that you're solving can bring you a lot of wealth, and they can be massive to other people. And I always say that, like, lean into it.
Oh, it's amazing. Do you have, to wrap up, anything coming up that because you run these incredible booster events, don't you?
I do, yeah.
Have you got any events that we need to be telling people about?
I do.
I do know you have, that's why I'm saying it.
Thank you. Reminding me to say.
And I have booked on one of them, so.
So I have on, in July, the 15th, or the 13th. 15th, thank you. See, perimenopause, live in action, ladies and gentlemen. It's not even this episode. But I have a networking event. Now, it's not just come along and network. I am teaching people how to network. So many people.
It's like a networking masterclass.
Networking is so important. Your net worth is your network. Who you know, like you and me, we met at networking. We're doing so much work together. You know, you're a client of mine, I'm a client of yours, etc., and we met through networking. It's so important. And a lot of people go and they don't make the most of it, or they go to the wrong rooms, or they feel embarrassed, or people just don't go because they're scared.
Yeah.
I think it's a huge marketing tool. So that event is just a morning. It's 25 people. We're going to just talk about how to do it effectively and better for you and your business. So you actually see it as like a sales and marketing tool, as opposed to, I suppose I probably should put myself in a room and hope someone's there. And then the booster is back in November the 3rd. That'll be the 4th one, and that's about community and connection.
These are brilliant events.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have lots of community and connection, isn't it, this time?
Yeah, this time. So we'll have loads of people that have done community-based businesses, sharing that. We'll talk about events. We'll talk about connecting through your marketing, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, it'd be great. And it'll be the last one that we do in the style that we've been doing it. I want to go bigger next year.
Ooh,
so,
nice.
Yeah. So,
well, I'll put the details in the show notes. We'll put them in the show notes for everyone.
Yeah.
So they can follow you. It's at Worthy Consultancy, isn't
Carmel
it?
at worthyconsultancy.co.uk, Carmel Worthy, and then Carmel Dickinson on LinkedIn. So
amazing.
Yeah, and you don't have to be a business owner yet to talk to me. I've got
You
a lot
could
of
be in that
people
very
that are
early
like side
stage.
hustling, or just thinking in a year's time I want to quit my job and start a business, and I've got a business idea. I love people like that. I love hearing their ideas.
That would be a perfect fit for you, wouldn't
so
it?
come and talk to other business owners that are doing it, because that's the best way you'll decide whether you're going to do it or not. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for
No,
that.
pleasure.
Brilliant.
Loved it. Out of the voice notes.
Out of the voice notes.